Uber's chief executive and chief people officer sent employees an internal email and asked Bo-Young Lee to step back and take a leave of absence. Employees turned to the company's Slack to complain and expressed that they didn't like that some of their white colleagues saw Karen as a derogatory term. But as we all know, Karen absolutely is a derogatory term. Are we really gonna pretend like it's not?
You have all the white women melting down that they're mad they're being racially profiled. You have all the non-white women and all the white allies who are mad that they can't racially profile the white women.
The Karen conundrum.
Uber has placed Bo-Young Lee, its head of diversity, on leave after she moderated a couple of employee events that made the horrifying mistake of including the perspectives of white female employees. After several years of diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings, making it clear that the inclusion part is really meant to exclude the participation of white women, some employees at Uber didn't take kindly to the sudden paradigm shift. Backlash from Uber workers who felt the topic was insensitive spooked the company's execs, who immediately decided to place Lee on leave. Now, the future of their longtime diversity, equity, and inclusion chief is uncertain. The New York Times writes that employees' concerns centered on a pair of events that were billed as diving into the spectrum of the American white woman's experience and hearing from white women who work at Uber with a focus on the Karen persona. They were intended to be an open and honest conversation about race, according to the invitation. Employees turned to the company's Slack to complain and expressed that they didn't like that some of their white colleagues saw Karen as a derogatory term. But as we all know, Karen absolutely is a derogatory term. Are we really gonna pretend like it's not? Employees felt the event organizers were minimizing racism and the harm white people can inflict on people of color by focusing on how Karen is a hurtful word, according to messages and an employee who attended the events.
Don't you love this?
So wait, I'm a little confused here. Okay, so the woman that has been put on leave, Bo-Young Lee, is she put on leave because they said that the diversity training was racist against white women, or did they put her on leave because they said the diversity training was not racist against white women?
Not racist against white women.
They're like, okay, so
they're like, these diversity trainings are for us to beat up on white people. And how dare you? How dare you come in here and try to say that we're being the racists, you pieces of shit.
So this New York Times article says, Uber has placed its longtime head of division, equity, and inclusion on leave after workers complained that the employee event called Don't Call Me a Karen was insensitive to people of color.
Yes, totally. Who's the privileged one here?
Yeah. So
how dare you get mad that we're calling you Karens?
A racial slur.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Don't you know we're black? We can't be racist.
But see, that really shows you, and people have been saying this for a while. They say, when they say diversity, equity, and inclusion, they don't actually mean diversity.
They don't.
Or inclusion. What they mean is no whiteys. Yes. Whiteys gotta go. Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. And so when you literally have your DEI person, who's probably one of the wokest people there, is like, listen, we shouldn't call white women Karens because that's a racial slur, right? They're like, oh, how dare you take away our ability to use racial slurs against white women?
Yeah.
Be gone with you. Out.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
And she's been there she said she's been there since 2018. Okay, it's not like some new hire.
It's not about racial sensitivity. This just is complete mask off. It's not.
Of course. No.
It's about
she's not even white. She's Asian. Yes.
Well, she's white passing, obviously. They're going to be very upset about that.
There you go. Yeah, you're right. It's not about diversity. It's not about inclusion. It's about power.
It is.
About the ability to leverage power racially against white people, essentially. Yeah.
For their perceived privilege.
Right.
Oh, so sad. Well, at least Anna's calling it out, right?
Yeah, she's waking up to this shit. This is totally
She's going
insane.
woke.
Well, she's going anti-woke.
Yeah, but woke for white people.
Oh, okay. I see.
Well, it's a derogatory term. That's why it's used in a derogatory sense after someone is perceived to have engaged in bad behavior. Now, the controversy didn't die down. Weeks later, the Karen conundrum was aired in a company-wide meeting. Several weeks after the first—
Wouldn't that be a great Hollywood movie, The Karen Conundrum? It's so perfect.
Like that. No, it's like the China syndrome, the Karen conundrum.
The Karen Conundrum.
It's just like the China syndrome. You have a meltdown occurring in this company.
Yes, but it's all white women, or mad that they're being racially profiled.
You have all the white women melting down that they're mad they're being racially profiled. You have all the non-white women and all the white allies who are mad that they can't racially profile the white women.
The Karen Conundrum.
These two meltdowns are occurring, and they're both going to collide.
Where's a good setting for it?
A nuclear attack. At the Uber headquarters.
Where's the perfect setting? Oh yeah, I guess
it should just be based on a true story.
Based on a true story.
Get what's his name? The Steven Fincher.
Yeah,
David Fincher. Get David Fincher to film it.
David Fincher movie.
Yeah,
The Karen Conundrum.
First event, a black woman asked during an Uber all hands meeting how the company would prevent tone-deaf, offensive, and triggering conversations from becoming a part of its diversity initiatives. Lee replied, arguing that while the discussions can sometimes feel uncomfortable, they were important and necessary to have.
Don't you? I love that. So it's like whenever you're attacking white people, they always say, listen, I know this makes you feel uncomfortable, whitey.
Yeah, totally.
You have to confront your privilege.
White fragility.
Yeah, you have to confront your fragility, right?
Yeah. And
now when the DI lady is like telling that to non-white people, they're like, oh my God, get her, fire her ass, get her out of here.
How dare she make me feel bad about my racism? What is this? I'm not the fragile one here.
Sometime out of your own strategic ignorance is the right thing to do.
Ooh.
That's what she said. Now, as you can imagine, that comment did not really do much to calm the situation down.
You ignorant black woman.
Oh, jeez.
That's not gonna play well, is it?
Not gonna calm anyone down, no.
Is it? Oh my God, did you just call me ignorant?
Right.
We're going to war. Wait till I get to my TikTok.
Oh my God.
And instead sparked additional outrage and complaints to executives. So Lee decided to hold a second event, which was intended to be a dialogue where employees could express how they felt about what they heard during the first event. But that led to even more complaints. In Slack, groups for Black and Hispanic employees at Uber fumed that instead of a chance to provide feedback or have a dialogue, they were instead being lectured about their response to the initial "Don't Call Me Karen" event.
Based. I love this. It's like, getting a fucking taste of your own medicine.
Totally,
right?
totally.
100%. Oh, here's your bed now. Lay in it. Fucking revel in it. Oh.
Lecturing us? That's what every DEI thing is. It's just a lecture about how, you have all this privilege and you know, you're being so insensitive to the black employees.
And you're being so fragile if you don't accept it. Yes.
Yeah, totally. But now they do the same thing to them and they're like, what? This isn't how I planned my DEI session.
My actions have consequences? The same arguments I've been throwing at people will be used against me? What?
I know.
How dare? I thought we could only beat up on white people this way.
They're so triggered.
Oh, this is amazing. I love this story.
One person wrote, "I felt like I was being scolded for the entirety of that meeting." Another employee took issue with the premise that the term Karen shouldn't be used. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. In the workplace, you shouldn't be calling your coworkers Karens.
Yes, what the fuck? You shouldn't be using racial slurs against your coworkers. Like, what the how is this like a controversial thing? Holy shit. Come on. Bro.
You can call the targets of your news story Karens, though, obviously. It's TYT, so just not the colleagues.
Right. Oh, so next time I go into my place of work, I'm gonna be like, "What's up, my crackers?" Very
Don't get us
professional
canceled.
atmosphere. Yeah. So I got the person of shadow pass. Okay, I can see it.
Sure.
It's just not a good idea. And by the way, just let that sink in for a moment. Employees were openly angry that they couldn't use a derogatory word against some of their colleagues. This type of work environment is just fantastic. I mean, it's not hostile at all. Now, in response to the apparent uproar, Uber's chief executive and chief people officer sent employees an internal email and asked Bo-Young Lee to step back and take a leave of absence while they determine next steps. The email also let employees know that, quote, "We have heard that."
Okay.
That's so sad.
Here's this. This is kind of what annoys me about the right. So, I'm fine with people boycotting, Bud Light when they're doing the Dylan Mulvaney thing. I'm fine with people boycotting Target, the Pride shit or whatever. It's fine. This is so much worse. Okay. The right needs to boycott Uber. Like, this needs to be a big fucking issue. Literally, Uber is putting a lady on leave because she's like, don't use racial slurs against white people. This is so much more egregious than fucking either the Bud Light thing or the Target thing.
Yeah.
And it's just because that, like, the whole like sexualizing children thing, like, gets everyone's so emotional. Like, this needs to be get on the board with this boycott. Uber needs to be boycott because this is fucking insane. This is totally batshit crazy.
Can't conservatives boycott Uber? Don't they all just have cars?
Well, of course. What do you mean? Shit, everyone uses Uber. Everyone uses Uber. They use Uber Eats and all that shit.
Oh,
but
yeah,
look, like,
right.
the good thing is that there's enough of these services that you can just switch to Lyft or whatever million other services that exist for this stuff.
Yeah.
So
pretty sad.
Like, this is insane. Uber needs to be. Uber as a company needs to be destroyed until they apologize and grovel. People are saying that they want Bud Light to grovel at the feet. This is 1,000 times worse than the Dylan Mulvaney thing. They're literally putting their DEI head on leave pending an investigation because she said don't use racial slurs against white people.
Well, we've culturally kind of condoned this. We've set up an uneven playing field, and this is the problem. Like, 100%. Culturally, people do not feel it is immoral. And this is so talking past the sale when you're saying, look, it's not immoral for me to be racist against my oppressor. Where that's like, so whites are your oppressor now? What?
Yeah, as a class of people, right?
Yeah. It's so bad. That's the whole bad.
That's the entire idea behind CRT and wokeness.
I know.
Yeah, whites are your oppressor as a class of people. Yes, you need to fight and have a revolution.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how do we destroy these memes, Sitch? These memes are terrible, toxic.
Come on, Daily Wire, get on this shit. Get the boycott out there, okay? Get the right wingers all boycott an Uber for this.
Is it better just not to have these DEI things? I mean, they're all racist. Okay,
obviously, obviously that would be the ideal situation.
Well, couldn't you make them illegal? Because it's like, look, I'm not. There's laws against discrimination in the workplace. Mm-hmm. These DEI training courses are literally discrimination in the workplace.
Yes. Well, they can't. Yeah, they can be, and a lot of them are. And there was. I mean, I know in Florida, it's one of the things that, though I think the courts threw it out, or at least threw out part of it, because they did overstep a little bit in the law that stupidly opened them up for it to be thrown out. But they did try to pass a law in Florida that would make certain. You didn't make all DI illegal, but it made certain concepts. It's like the CRT law. Certain concepts could not be promoted or taught in these DI things, and that's the only way to do it. And that is what these states are going to have to do. That's what these red states are going to have to do for this shit.
Right.
This is wild. This is insane.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? If I was white and I worked at Uber, they should sue. They should sue under a civil rights claim, under Title 9 or 7 or whichever one it is for employment, to say, how am I supposed to exist and work in a work environment where a DI Asian lady puts on a conference that says, don't be racist against white people because they're white, and then she gets put on leave, potentially fired for just saying that. Okay. Obviously, this is a racist environment against white people.
Yeah. Hostile. But you're not a marginalized person.
Yeah, exactly.
Are in pain and upset by yesterday's moving forward session. While it was meant to be a dialogue, it's obvious that those who attended did not feel heard.
I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Why is their voice, why is their complaints mean that they get to be racist against everyone else? Mm-hmm. It doesn't. This is insane.
Look, I gotta be honest, simply treating employees equally and providing a space for some to gently push back on the Karen narrative is nothing compared to the several years people have been consuming speeches like the one Dr. Aruna Kilanani gave at Yale in 2022.
We covered this.
Unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, burying their body, and wiping my bloody hands as I walked away relatively guiltless. With a bouncing like that, like I did the world a favor.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate what you heard there. The audio wasn't great, so just in case you didn't hear it. During a speech at Yale in April of 2022, Dr. Aruna Kilanani said, and I quote, "I had fantasies of unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, burying their body and wiping my bloody hands as I walked away relatively guiltless, with a bounce in my step, like I did the world an effing favor."
Yeah, so we covered that.
We did, when it came out. Yeah.
And it wasn't, if I recall, I don't remember the whole context of this statement, but it wasn't like a Shirley Sherrod situation where then she immediately said, "I was wrong to feel this way," right? She was.
Of course not. That was like her beat poetry.
Yes, she was justifying it. And it was like, holy shit.
Okay, now that might seem like a bizarre, isolated incident. And to be honest, the rhetoric there is rare. I haven't heard rhetoric that extreme, but there is an entire industry where authors and academics make a killing conducting trainings that simply tell white workers to shut their mouths and take kindly to hours of being told they're all the same.
And if they go and they say, "Don't be racist against white people," they say, "No, you're fired. Get out of here."
Totally.
This is, we hired you. Listen, when we hired you to be the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion, what we wanted you to do was we were giving you a whip to crack at the back of them crackers. That was the point of hiring you as the DEI head, okay? Didn't you get it? Didn't you understand what we hired you for?
I mean, but these are just regular employees. These are not diversity hires. These are just, because these trainings have to be done by all the employees.
No, right, but I'm saying like the person that they hired who ran the DEI section at Uber, who I'm assuming is fucking woke as hell too.
Yeah, no.
So.
Well, maybe not though. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not sure. Right? I'm not sure about that.
They're all racist. They're all hateful. They all deserve what's coming to them. And it should come to no surprise that DEI trainings like this have led to lawsuits because they include, discrimination. In 2020, at least half a dozen people who had been employed by the New York City Department of Education filed lawsuits or won settlements in cases relating to mandatory DEI trainings.
Yeah. Don't you like that?
What I'm also not surprised about is how lucrative this industry is. After George Floyd's murder, as companies faced pressure to demonstrate a commitment to racial justice, interest in diversity, equity, and inclusion exploded. The American market reached an estimated $3.4 billion in 2020 alone.
So the only way this is gonna end, there's two ways. Either A, all these states could, go and make this shit illegal to some capacity, which would be a little more difficult. I think the next step, and maybe they're doing this, I think, that Christopher Rufo has his super PAC, I forget what it's called. I think a lot of these conservatives that have these super PACs, they need to go to all these companies and try to send moles in there to try to find the companies that are forcing their employees to go to this super racist DI shit and just farm lawsuits.
Yeah,
that's the only way. The only way to get them to stop is to just start suing these fucking companies so that they say, when we do these fucking DI things, we're taking a massive chance of getting a lawsuit against us. Because they're doing it for two reasons. One, they're doing it to help improve their ESG score. number one. And number two, they're doing it because they don't want to get sued by a minority person and accused of being racist. And so they could say, well, we're not racist. Look, we have a DI, branch in our company. And we look at all these, DI programs that we sent people to that's talked about how bad white people are. We can't possibly have a racially charged environment. And that's got to be like, boom, in the other direction and get sued for being racist against white people.
Yeah. Chloe Valderi, she does some sort of DEI cleanup after these people come in and make the workplace completely toxic. It's hilarious. She's like kind of the cleanup crew. The
anti-woke, anti-DEI cleanup person.
She's been interviewed by Jordan Peterson. I think I saw a talk recently where she's even talked to Christopher Rufo. So she understands the problem of woke diversity trainings and is like making a killing coming in.
Nice.
As soon as the workplace, like I'm sure they probably talked to her after this incident at Uber, because you're like, oh my God, we hired some woke DEI trainer and now it's total chaos at work. What do we do? Right. Well, I guess this is kind of the opposite though.
Well,
see, that's why I don't know.
She's like the cult deprogrammer, essentially. She have to go in there and deprogram the cult.
She has this thing called the theory of enchantment, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it's a little kind of hippie for my taste, to be honest with you. But she's obviously
right.
So, well, she's super smart though, obviously. Right. So, and she understands the problem. She's not one of these people that's in the bubble.
Right.
Like Emma. Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.